Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to day three. Just make sure I'm recording and we're unmuted and everything is ready to rock. So we are in day three today, and I want to take a moment before we get into anything else today. I genuinely want to acknowledge each and every single one of you for being here. You've showed up 3 days in a row because showing up is not small. It's most definitely not a small thing. And showing up in life in general, when life is busy, when things are happening, is so powerful. And this is where I want to really step into the depth of this. You're showing up for yourself. You're not showing up for anyone else or anything else. You are showing up for you. So when life is really busy and you're feeling really overwhelmed, but you're taking the time out of the day for yourself, showing up maybe when part of you would rather stay very comfortable, maybe showing up 3 days in a row, like I'm choosing this, I'm choosing me, I'm choosing my personal development, is probably one of the most powerful things that you can actually do. Okay, it definitely is. So whether you are watching this from whether you're watching this on the YouTube channel, whether you're watching this on replay, whether you're here live, whether you're streaming in, wherever you are, you're showing up for yourself. So truly, thank you so much. So 3 days, 3 whole days of looking at yourself differently, 3 days of leaning into your awareness, 3 days of expanding your thinking. Now, you're expanding your thinking so far beyond what probably felt, possible for you before. And these 3 days, 3 days of beginning to see maybe what's possible beyond what I thought was possible before. Maybe your future is not written the way that you thought it was written. Maybe it's not written the way that your old story. Maybe your future can be absolutely anything that you want it to be. So that for me is probably one of the big takeaways. Oh, wait, I thought I had my phone on do not disturb, just getting a call. So today what we do, we start, we start pulling everything together. Okay? It's not wishing, it's not hoping, it's not trying to feel better or to think better or to do better or even think about making decisions or today's about you. Okay, you're going to understand the power of a decision. You're going to understand the power of a goal, having a goal. You're going to understand how to actually make a real one, a committed one that comes from the deepest parts of who you are. And I've been speaking to people saying, "Oh, I would love to live here. I would love to travel there. I would love to have this job. I would love to be in that type of relationship." But it hasn't been a deep rooted, committed decision because if it was, you would be there. Okay? So, one of the most greatest things that I've ever learned through personal development, through mindset work, okay, through leadership, through spirituality, through the manifestation, through building a business from the ground up is that life is going to change. And life changes the moment that you truly decide. All things change on this planet, on this world, and we change with it. It does not change when your circumstances shift first. It doesn't change when the money arrives in the bank first. It doesn't change when everybody around you finally agrees with you and says, yes, go for it. It changes, okay? It changes when you become, unavailable for that old story, that old version of yourself. And that's a shift. That's the whole thing. That is the turning point that separates so many people. So many people stay where they are because of other people's opinions. So many people stay in the old story because they don't want to offend someone or they don't want to upset someone or they people please. You would be so surprised how many people stay in the same circumstances. So, what I want you to do today, I want you to make a decision, one where you're holding space for you, okay? For you to actually tell yourself the truth. Because what I know after years of doing this work, most people don't need more information. And that's a key understanding. Most people do not need more information. And when we do think that we need, I just need to know how to do it. I just need to know the strategies, the processes. I just need to give me the book. What book will I read? It's not about more information. It's not even about these Zoom calls. It's not even about these masterclasses. It's not about that at all. You get to know the how as you shift your awareness when you're studying yourself and taking a really honest study of yourself. So as we go through, now we're coming to the last of the 3 days, most people are thinking that they just don't know enough. And that's how we're programmed. We're programmed while we're at school that we don't know enough, that we just have to learn it, repeat it, and then we'll know it. But that's all held in your conscious mind, what we spoke about yesterday. We're going actually underneath all the noise, underneath all the beliefs about yourself. Because if you believe that you didn't finish high school, or you believe that you didn't get a college degree, or you believe that you're not going to be able to do X, Y, or Z, that's all a belief within you. So this is a moment to pause, okay? A moment to pause and to really feel. Over the first few days, we looked at our awareness. We looked at who we believed ourselves to be. We understood what it was that we wanted. And what I want you now to really truly feel, just even close your eyes for a second, okay? Just take a breath. Take a breath in this moment. And through your nose. And let it fill your chest so much, and then exhale. Okay? Why? Because I want you to be present. I want you to be here. I want you to feel this rather than just hear it, because it's not about more information. Really feel into it. You will feel in your gut what's right, what's wrong. If you're going to make a decision, if you're going to take a step into a different career, if you're going to move home, if you're going to purchase a car, anything in your life, you will get a gut feeling from it. And this is why I want you to be present here and feel it. What do you truly want? Okay? What do you truly want? A lot of us don't even know what we truly want. I mean, truly. Not what feels realistic. A lot of us can think about what we want based on where we are in the physical world at the moment, based on our current circumstances. It's not what fits inside the box that somebody else drew for your life. It's not what your family told you was reasonable dream. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, you should go after that. No, that's definitely, I wouldn't do that. Okay? It's not what society said is appropriate for you to have, or what is appropriate and what is safe. What do you want? What kind of life do you genuinely desire to be living? How do you desire to feel whenever you wake up in the morning? And it's not in some far-fetched imagination or visualization. This is where you start igniting that thought pattern. How do you desire to feel? Who do you desire to become as you walk through that next chapter of your life? I'm coming into a wonderful chapter. I'm in my 49th year, and I'm coming into a wonderful chapter in my life. And coming into my 30s, I always had an idea of, right, what do I want from this? And to my 40s, what do I want from this phase? And now, coming into my 50s, and the awareness that I have, I'm going, oh, I'm so excited. What do I desire? This amazing phase. So every single day, you can decide what it is you desire. What kind of relationships do you want in your life? The kind that maybe fill you up, the kind that are honest, the kind that feel like home. What kind of business do you want to have? Not just what you think you're able and capable of doing. So, what kind of business built around maybe your genius? We all have our genius, we all have our purpose, our values. What kind of freedom do you want? Financial freedom, emotional freedom, time freedom? That's one of the things I really desired, was to have mental freedom, financial freedom, time freedom to come and go and do and live and be wherever I wanted to be, not like anchored down to anything or anyone. And that was really, for me, that really lit me up inside. What kind of health do you want? What kind of peace? Because so many extraordinary men and women, they're living from expectations instead of inner truth. And they're living their life how they think someone else wants them to live their life. They're carrying somebody else's blueprint with them in their back pocket. So when you take out your blueprint of your life and you look at it and you say, right, is this my blueprint that I have designed by myself, or did someone else design it? Does someone else say this is success here? Maybe it's someone else's version of who they should be and how much they should be allowed to want and how much time they should spend with their family or their friends, or is it from someone else's point of view? And then we wonder why we feel so disconnected from life. And when we're feeling disconnected, we're living someone else's life. That's why. So even when things look really good on the outside, maybe there's that quiet ache inside. And you're saying, oh, I've achieved this and I've done this and I have this success and I have that success and I have that much in the bank balance. But then inside, there's something, there's a heaviness. I remember I carried around such a heaviness just right here in my chest for years. I felt as if I couldn't breathe. I felt as if somebody was just constantly sitting on my chest. Now, from the outside, my life looked absolutely perfect to everyone else. I had success, I had a beautiful home, I had care for everyone else, but inside I knew I wasn't living my life on my terms. You were never designed to live somebody else's life. You were designed by God, universe, God of your understanding, whatever you believe to be true, to fully express your own life, your own vision, your own voice. How many times do you ask someone for their opinion or their permission? You're here to live your own purpose, your own version of being extraordinary. And the one of these things I teach constantly inside the academy is awareness changes everything. Absolutely everything. Because you genuinely cannot change what you are so unwilling to look at. And the reason so many people avoid asking themselves what they truly want is the moment that you get honest with yourself, everything shifts. The moment that you name it, the moment that you claim it, that you feel into it, that you sit with it, you can no longer pretend that you don't know. I've heard that answer so many times. Oh, I don't know. I thought, well, what do you want? I don't know. I want more money. I want a better life. I want this. And I thought, well, go deeper. What does more money mean to you? How do you want to live it? Because when you're in that thought process and when you're in that understanding of I don't know, that's quite comfortable. That's a comfort zone, not to grow. So this is one of the most confronting things that you'll ever do in this work. But it's the most liberating because responsibility is not a burden. Okay? It is not a burden whatsoever. Responsibility for you, for your life, means that you have power. It means that your life is in your hands, and some people don't like to know that. I would have loved, and I did love, to actually put the blame onto someone else. It's not my fault. Fault and blame. It's not my fault, it's someone else's fault. But whenever you strip that away, and I'm going back years, okay? And when you strip that away and you take responsibility and you think, my life is in my hands. If my life is going to work the way I want it to work, I have to mold it and shape it and take the action and do it myself. You don't wait for someone else to come along and do it. I did for years. Oh my goodness, whether it's my managers, my friends, my relationships, I did it for years. And then I literally woke up. So responsibility means that the version of you that you desire to become already is available to you. Every version of you is already created. Every version of you is already inside you. And that is what awareness unlocks. So you're here today, you're listening to this, and that person, that feeling, that version of you that is really stretching to get out. And it's layered down and layered down and layered down over beliefs, behaviors, other people's opinions, what society tells us to do, program after program after program, and then we keep suppressing and pushing back in again. Well, this is what we're unlocking. And this is exactly why the ego resists decision. Because decision means movement. And what does movement mean? The minute that you make a decision, it means that you're committing to something. It means that decision means change in your life. And decision means becoming somebody new. Not physically of who you are, but who you believe yourself to be. And the ego, it loves what is familiar. And I'm not talking about ego as in the whole bravado and look at me. I'm talking about ego as in I'm right. It's in the, you get your gut instinct and you know that you want something and you go to do it, and then logic kicks in and goes, oh, do you really want to do that? Maybe that's not going to work out. Are you sure about this? What happens if it doesn't happen? That's what the ego wants to keep you exactly where you're at. It loves what's familiar. Even when familiar is painful. Even when familiar feels so heavy. Because some people would say, oh, I'd rather the devil I know. I've heard that so many times when I was growing up as well. So even when it's painful, when it's really heavy, you stay. Why? Because you know it. So if the familiar and your way isn't working, maybe it's time to try it my way. Because my ego was still choosing the familiar for years over the unknown, because I was afraid of the unknown. It felt to me like a Pandora's box. That's all I can think about was that box. And I was afraid to open it because I didn't know what was inside it. I was afraid to open the doors because I didn't know what was going to come next. I closed the doors and pulled the shutters down, and I stayed within myself because I knew who I was in here. I knew I was comfortable. I was like holding myself up all the time, instead of just literally opening the doors to experiences, to something new, to, yes, the unknown. The unknown can be so exciting. And now I have no idea what is going to happen tomorrow, but I'm so excited for it. I have no idea what's going to happen this evening, but I'm so excited for it. I have no idea what's going to happen in a year's time, but I'm so excited for it. So when we fall in love with not knowing, we know what we want, we know the life that we want, we have our goals so absolutely ingrained, but we let go of the how and we go with the flow. Because your subconscious mind is going to, it equals familiar with survival. But your subconscious and like even the universe and God has such a bigger plan for what you believe for yourself. You know what you want, and yes, you will always get it. And I 100% guarantee every one of my clients will achieve their goal when the work is done. Okay? I can't guarantee that you're going to do the work, but I can guarantee you that the work works when you do it. 100%. And 9 times out of 10, you probably get it bigger than what you ever expected. So much bigger. So that's why people stay in jobs that they know are draining them, because it is familiar for them. That's why people stay in relationships that stopped even being good and maybe toxic, because they're familiar with it. They don't know what to expect. They don't want to feel the unfamiliar or the unknown. And every single time that I take a step, I know my goal, I know what I want, I know how I want to feel. And it's in that feeling that when you're taking the steps and you've no idea where the step is going to land. I've just literally, I'm literally like, I'm floating at the moment. I have no idea where the step is going to land, but I know how I feel. I know the freedom I feel. I know the joy that I feel. I know who I am in truth. I know who I am in truth, because everything that you desire lives so far beyond that current version of you. All of it. Maybe the cave that you fear to enter is where your deepest desires are. And everything is available. The life that you can feel whenever you close your eyes and let yourself drift there. Waking up to, if whether it's the sound of the ocean, whether it is walking in the sand, whether it's living in the city, whatever it is, that life is there for you. That version of you that is calm, that is clear, that is powerful, that is fully in their purpose is available to you. The relationships, the abundance, the overflow, the freedom, the ease, the happiness, the joy, all of that exists just beyond where you currently stand now in this moment. And this is why growth stretches you. This is why goals are so important. And when I talk about goal, I'm not talking about a wishy-washy, oh, I want this type of house, or I want that kind of car, I want this money. It's not just that. Okay? Goals that you don't know how to achieve. Goals that is going to stretch you. And goals are for growth. And that's one thing that I get caught up in whenever, at the start of my journey, when someone says, well, what's your goal? And I've set goals that I thought I could achieve because I wanted to show, oh, I'm achieving this goal. Look, the goal wasn't for me. It was to show that whether it was my mentor or someone that was a lot, in the community, that I was achieving goals. But the goal truly is to stretch you. A goal is to be so far beyond where you're at now at this moment and who you need to become to get that goal. And it's in the journey, it's in the growth, it's in the stretch. And that's the real transformation. And transformation, it's uncomfortable at times. And I will never tell anyone that it's about just being positive all day long. You're expanding beyond an old identity. And that old identity will hold on as much as it possibly can sometimes. You are literally becoming someone your nervous system doesn't even recognize. And whenever that you take the steps, it takes courage. It takes openness. It takes willingness. It takes decision to really to keep you going. When part of you wants to just really lie on the sofa and back out of it. And again, you fail, you fall, you sit down, you breathe, you get it back up and you go again. That's all we do. Like something I talk about really often because I think it's one of the most misunderstood pieces of transformation, okay, is a balance between the doing and the being. And that's it. So many of us can kind of go, 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 go and be so forceful and really pushing and really forcing something to happen. And I had a great example today. I was teaching my daughter this morning that she was forcing, it was a drawer with some of her beautiful clothes in it, and she was forcing it and she was really, really forcing it, and it ended up breaking. And that's exactly the same thing. If you are forcing something into existence, forcing negates, it blocks, it breaks. So we don't force, we go into the masculine and the feminine, that balance between the doing and the being. Really, and it's all a balance between, because manifestation, it's not simply positive thinking. And I've said this every day this week. It's not just about the hustle. It's not about the force. It's not about the grinding. It's not about making it happen. It's not about, look at me, I've done this. Real transformation, lasting transformation, is the kind that feels like freedom rather than exhaustion. And that, for me, is when you are sitting in such a state of growth and such a state of knowing and faith. It happens when the masculine, okay? So the masculine would be, all the creation in the masterclass and all the creation in what I'm going to teach. And, I've got all the different things in business that has to be, the meetings, and I have all the emails and everything built in the back office. Okay. Yes, that all has to be done. But then we look at the feminine when these both are working together. So you have to do the masculine, but also do the masculine in a feminine way. So the feminine in you would be your vision. It would be your intuition, your creativity, your imagination, letting it all, it's emotion, the feeling. It's a part of you that would expand, okay, that is open to receive. that knows before it can even be explained. You just think of someone, and it was today. I was thinking of someone. I lifted the phone and I rang them, and they were all, oh my goodness, it was on my schedule to give you a call today. So they were thinking of me, and I was thinking of them, and that's, you can't explain that. I just knew. But the masculine in you is structure, it's decision, it's this, it would be decision, it'd be direction. It's a part of you that commits, it's a part of you that acts, that the action, you take the action. It protects, it protects a vision that, you know, your imagination would really bring the image to you, but it's action then that creates it. It's the action then that aligns it. So one without the other is imbalance. So you can sit all day and you can imagine all day and you can visualize all day and you can meditate all day, but without the action, you're bringing all that to you in your physical around you. You're visualizing it, it's there, but without the masculine of the action to actually do it, okay, you're not going to see it in your reality. So your imagination brings it, the action receives it. So at some point, okay, when we go through this journey, and I say journey, it's just life. It's just studying yourself. It's just becoming so aware of you. It can feel so expansive. Okay? It can feel so, so expansive. It can feel so sometimes overwhelming. And this is where sometimes something essential may be missing. Okay? Something essential may be missing from the whole masculine, feminine goals, imagination, understanding. And when we talk about that, it's the magic. It's the desire. It happens when the vision meets the decision. So you have the vision that you want. We have went over their vision. We have went over our goals. You have got it there. But when it meets decision, and the decision comes up, and the decision may say, okay, 5 years. 5 years I'm going to have, we're going to do, we're going to be. Your vision can be immediate. Your vision, yes, you've got your logical things and everything that could happen. It needs to happen, but that is that's not your intuition. Your intuition is the vision. The intuition is the life that you want. But logically, you're trying to work it out. And logically, it's saying 5 years, 10 years. Something essential is required in this moment. It's when your intuition of what you want, and then you take aligned action with it. So when I'm talking about aligned action, I'm talking about what the action you would take when you were there, when you were living that life. It's the identity of you showing up as that person and complete embodiment. You may not have the results physically in front of you. You may not have the money in the bank balance. You may not have be living in the desired state or the desired home that you want to be in. But when you start acting, you start taking steps, you start speaking, you start visualizing, you start really having that identity as that full embodied person who lives that life. That's where your life changes. That's a sweet spot. And it's why Neville Goddard, and this book's never too far away from me. His teachings resonate so deeply with me because Neville understood something that most people walk right past. He understood that imagination creates reality. And your imagination, you can accept this idea or you can reject it. Anything that I say over the last 3 days, you can either accept it or reject it. But whether you are approaching that spirituality, okay, or even whether you're just understanding on a level or energetically, or the principle stands, your imagination will create your reality. So whether you're using your imagination for you or you're using your imagination against you, whatever you repetitively say to yourself, whatever you repetitively identify with internally, you're going to begin to move towards it externally. So if you believe yourself to be the best in your field, you are going to start to move like that person that is the best in their field. If you believe yourself to your voice doesn't matter, you're going to be more towards the back of the room rather than being at the front of the room, knowing that your voice matters. Because your inner world is always casting forward, always, into your outer experience. So your today, it's not receding into the past. Your today of what you think, what you believe, what you're saying, the conversations, every single thing is being projected into your future to meet you again. So Neville would have invited people to really stop mentally rehearsing the problem. There's a solution to every problem, and I've accepted that idea a long time ago. So any problems that I'm faced with, I know there's a solution to it. Stop emotionally living from the past. Stop emotionally living from limitation. I can't do, I can't be, I can't have. So many of us still live with the old version as if that's all that's available to us. But my life, you don't know my story, you don't know where I came from. I don't care. But I do know where you can go. I do know what you can achieve. I do know how you can be. So we don't look at the past. Yes, we embrace it, we love it, we release it. So who would you be, okay, if this was already done? How would you move through your day? How would you think? How would you walk? How would you speak? How would you treat your body? What decisions do you make? How do you show up in your business? And that's it. That's one shift. That question to yourself. Every single day, I ask myself these questions every day. How can I make a change in the world today? It changes everything because the external world is always mirroring your identity over time. So, your external, I'll say it a million times, I've said it so many times this week. Your external is always mirroring your identity. Not instantly. It's not just going to happen instantly. You're not just going to think something's going to, we haven't got to that awareness yet that you think it and appears, but consistently. The stories that you've told yourself, be aware of the stories that you told yourself. If you had to introduce yourself to me now, okay, without your job title, without your name, without your location, any of that, who are you? Who would you introduce? I am what? Without your name. Just think about that for a second. Who do you believe yourself to be? And this is where, as I said, so many people become frustrated and begin to doubt the work. They begin to doubt the work because when the external is not matching up to what they want, because they're waiting for evidence to say this is working. They're waiting for evidence before they decide. They're waiting for evidence before they make the move. And they're saying, right, show me the result first, and then I'm going to trust. But the leaders who create extraordinary lives, they move differently. They move completely differently. They decide first. And then the minute they decide, you're creating energetically, you're creating space. And then life begins to reorganize around that decision. I remember when I first started doing this work, there was no evidence. Oh my goodness, there was no evidence. There was no proof. There was no external validation at all. No guarantee that any of this was going to work. But there was something inside me, a really quiet, certain, and absolutely unmovable knowing, a real unknown, a real knowing. And I choose every single day to trust that. I chose to trust myself, not perfectly, not every single moment. I had doubt, I had fear, I had days where I questioned everything. Even at the beginning, whenever I started studying this material, and at that time it was the investment for the program. It was so far out of my reach. Now I have someone that literally had went from having zero inside 6 weeks of shifting in awareness, and people would say to me, how quick does this material work? 6 weeks, my life turned upside down. Literally 6 weeks. But I studied this material like a scientist. I studied it because I had no choice. To me, this had to work. And I was And I don't really like saying the word broken, but I was at the really lowest point of my life. And I don't believe that any of you have to get to that stage. I had to break before I started to shine so bright. So that knowing, I just knew. I just knew inside. I didn't, at the time, I didn't even realize that Bob Proctor was one of my first mentors, and I had no idea that there was programs on self-development. I had no idea that there was coaching. I had no idea about manifestation. I had zero idea about looking after myself. And I didn't even want to express that to someone else when this came along, came into my vision. When someone says, "My goodness, you've really changed. What have you done? What are you doing?" I didn't want to tell anyone that I had invested in myself because I still worried what they thought. I didn't want to tell anyone that I was literally, to me, it was like, is it therapy? Is it coaching? What is it? But I knew that I had studied this material for so long. I knew that I had watched the YouTube channels. I knew that I followed everything. I'd watched The Secret. I had been doing everything. I had grabbed different, at that time, the only podcast that I was listening to, and I'm going back years, it had only started, was On Purpose, but Jay Shetty. And I had been watching that, and sorry, not watching it, listening to it in my ears in the mornings when I was up at ridiculous hours, really trying to work harder. And this is why I know when someone says to me they don't have time, I know the situation I was in when I started my journey. I knew financially I was completely done. Financially, I just went bankrupt. Financially, I had zero at that time. Now I knew it just created the space for more, a lot more to come. So when someone says to me that they don't have time, get up that bit earlier in the morning, make time for yourself, study yourself, because we get caught up in the whirlwind of life and life happens. But I chose to keep trusting. I chose to keep trusting in myself. And that is all it takes. It's not perfectionist. It's just willingness to believe that your current circumstances are not your final destination. My current circumstances back then were, oh my goodness, if you've seen them, it would be, create a really good storyline for a movie where my current circumstances were. But I had the willingness to hold that vision of myself when everything else was falling down around me. My relationship, energetically, we were going separate ways. Businesses were just closed. I was just not in a good place whatsoever. But that fire inside me, that it was just the slightest spark. I had pulled up all the shutters. No one could get anywhere near me at all, emotionally, energetically, and I was literally in that corner. I felt I was backed into that corner. And the life was, if I look back at photographs now of who I was then, my eyes were just dead in my head, literally. But there was that one little spark. That poster that I spoke about yesterday about that hope, there was that one little spark. And I knew the question that I asked and I've shared all the time was on my kitchen floor was there has to be a better way to live than this. There has to be. God, show me a different way to live. And I was shown. I was shown the path, and I was shown the path through my mentor. I was shown the path through, through the years to get to where I'm at now. And I'm here to guide each and every one of you on that path. All you need to have is the willingness to step forward when you cannot see the entire path in front of you. Now, I want everybody to write down one thing that I did, okay? Because it's the most important thing that you will hear across over these 3 days. Your life follows your strongest identity. That's it. Your life is going to follow your strongest identity. If you think you're in the whirlwind on the way down, you will continue that way. Your life follows who you believe yourself to be consistently, not your vision board alone, not your occasional bursts of motivation. You know, the bursts of motivation you all get, we're all in now, and then we pull back and we're all in now. You're sending out double binded messages. Not your best week. Your life is going to follow your identity. The deepest story of your subconscious mind It took me to strip away every single belief that I had. I stripped away every single habit that I had, every story that I told myself of what had happened throughout my life. But this happened, and this relationship, and this happened. I had stored up so many stories within me. I went through years of IVF. I felt such a failure. I couldn't do, I had all this built up inside me, whether it was relationships, whether it was failure in business, and I was focused on the negative. I never ever focused on what was going good. And I had to reprogram myself into that. Yes, I had certain amount of success throughout my life, 100%, but it was all incremental. And then when I focused on what I did want and where I was going and what legacy I was leaving behind myself and every part of that, it just felt such a fire within me. So my deepest story now, the deepest story that your subconscious mind holds about who you are and what is available to you is going to manifest into your reality. So the deepest story that I am embedding, I am programming myself. Yes, you've all been programmed throughout life, throughout the journey that we're on throughout society, and your caregivers, your parents, your teachers, we've all been programmed, but they were only doing the best that they thought was possible. Now, the stories that we're removing and we're really reprogramming this, what story do you want? What story do you want to have? So if somebody holds a really deep identity of being unsuccessful, they're going to unconsciously, I'm not saying that you're doing it on purpose, but you're going to unconsciously sabotage your success. Even if it's right in front of them, okay? Even if it's right in front of you, if you have that underlying belief, it's going to be self-sabotage. But you haven't woke up in the morning and said that I'm going to do this. Underlyingly, you're going to. But if somebody identifies as the person that is always maybe overlooked, they're going to see the evidence, and you're going to seek out all that evidence of being overlooked. They're going to interpret maybe neutral situations as blame, or they're going to see that through the lens of being overlooked because it confirms what they already believe to be true. If somebody identifies as unworthy of receiving, they're going to struggle to receive in their life. They're going to struggle to receive love, abundance, recognition. So whatever is going on in your life and you're projecting out that this always happens to me, look at the one common denominator, not with blame or not with judgment, but that one common denominator is what? Is you. So for things to change outside of you, we have to change in here. And it's a very simple process. It's a very simple step by step. And my goodness, sometimes it's not easy when old programs come in. And the old program is telling you to stop, to give up, and no, that's not working for me. The results haven't shown up yet. Oh, it's the same thing. Yes, of course it's the same thing because it's repetition. It's going to be the same thing until you believe it within you and internally inside you. Your thoughts, okay, the thoughts that you return to over and over, the emotions that you rehearse, the standards that you hold, and the standards that you actually keep. Your identity becomes that reality. And this is why being inside even a coaching program, okay, a coaching container is going to accelerate the transformation in a way that solo learning, I did it for years. I did it for absolute years. I tried to find the path. I remember so well that I was watching different lessons, and I was watching different YouTube channels and programs, and I was doing it for so much, and I was kept going, well, yes, the information's all here, but I don't know what's the next step to take. And this is why coaching is so important. It is so, for me, I will always have a coach. I will, as I elevate and I go on to my next stage of my journey, and I have upper limiting beliefs, I will always have a coach in different parts of my life. Because inside a container, you have repetition. You have an environment. And that environment is going to reflect the expansion back to you. You have support when the old identity tries to pull you forward. The majority of my one-to-one clients has got my contact details. They just left the phone. But not as a babysitter, okay? To help you stretch and to help you grow. You have this journey to live. I've seen it so many times. I've experienced it myself, and breakthroughs absolutely happen in these masterclasses. Like they definitely do. But these masterclasses is like reading the book. It's like reading one page of a book. But sustainable transformation, the kind that lasts, the kind that becomes your new normal, that comes through embodiment. That comes through integration, through showing up over and over and over and over again until the new identity becomes the most familiar thing that you know. And that is exactly why I created Elite Mindset Academy. Not to give people a temporary motivational fix. I don't do motivation at all. I don't listen to what someone tells me that they've done. I always say, show me. Show me by your results. As I say, this is not a quick fix. If someone comes to me and says that they want X amount in a certain length of time, tell me what to do. The first thing I say to them is, are you willing to do the work? This is through integration, through showing up again and again and again, having that desire, having that fire within you. So it's not just a motivation. You will not find motivation with me at all. Okay? You will find transformation. And this is where we create a space where real, lasting, identity level transformation can take place. A place where you stabilize new standards, new beliefs, new emotional patterns. Because the goal is never about a temporary high. Okay? It's never, you don't want to be like just a temporary high, because law of rhythm, you're going to have a low. Okay? So this is where you stabilize. That the law of rhythm is going to happen, but you're stabilized in it. You're always going to be stabilized. This is a new way to move through the world. Because the goal is never just about that quick fix. And so many people in our society and the generation that we're in now just want it instantaneously. They want the quick fix. They want to order the coffee. And although that is amazing in my Uber app or my Uber Eats, you just want to order it and then it comes to the door. This is about you. It's about your life. You're spending 6 months, okay, studying yourself, transforming yourself for the rest of your life. You completely transform. And I remember at the start of my journey, I was thinking, oh my goodness, do I have to do this for the rest of my life? This was the early mornings. This was the study. You only have to do it till you don't have to do it anymore. You only had to learn how to walk until you didn't have to learn how to walk anymore, because you walked. You only had to learn how to drive a car until you didn't have to learn how to drive a car anymore. It's just as natural. The same thing, you only have to study yourself until you don't have to study yourself anymore. As you grow in your awareness and as you really set yourself up, and this is where setting goals from limitation. Okay, a lot of people would set goals from limitation thinking, oh, if I only had this, it would be okay. We're setting goals from expansion. I remember Bob always would have spoke about A, B, and C type goals and the framework that changed the way that I think about possibility. Okay, changed the way. A goals are goals that, and when you understand it, you really get it. But A goals are already how you know what to achieve. It's a logical next step that you're going to take. They're safe, they're familiar, they're comfortable. You don't have to stretch to reach them. You know that you can get them. Okay? You've already maybe bought a new car, so you know if you want another car, you just go and buy another car. And that's just an A type goal. A B type goal, they would be goals that you think that you can probably achieve with a little bit more reach, with a little bit of help, but they're still within they're still within your current identity. Your mind can see, a relatively clear path. Your mind can see, okay, I can figure it out as we go along. C-type goals are something else entirely. C-type goals, they stretch you beyond who you even believe yourself to be. They're goals that require a vision. And they're goals that require a completely different version of you as well. It doesn't even exist yet. The goals that make you feel alive and terrified at the same time. I have no idea how I'm going to achieve my next goal. I have ticked off goals in my life that Melanie, 7 years ago, could not even comprehend. I could not have comprehended earning a certain amount of money, living a certain type of life, traveling a certain type of way. But I remember writing them down and thinking, wonder, oh my God, what's it going to be like to have that, or to be that, or to feel that? Goals that light up something inside you that pure logic can't even explain. Those are the goals I want you to be thinking about today. Not from logic, not from circumstance, okay? Not from what feels responsible, oh my goodness, or realistic. Those two words, I really don't like those two words. Responsible or realistic or safe. But I want you to think from possibility. Just try to figure it out and say, that's the thing. We try and figure it out. Okay, if I did this and did that, then I'd be able to achieve that. Close your eyes and think, oh my goodness, what do I want? If all and anything is possible for me, what do I want? From the part of you that knows that there is so much more available to you, what would you choose if you fully trusted yourself? What would you go for if you knew that the version of extraordinary life was genuinely within reach for you? And yes, I know that question brings up fear in some people. That's normal. It brought up fear for me. I sat and I thought, oh, I don't know, I don't know. And I would have been asked numerous times, what do you want? What do you want to achieve? I had just went bankrupt and closed one of my businesses, and people were saying, well, do you want another restaurant? Do you want to be in hospitality? And that's all I knew then. But now, if someone said to me, do you want to go back into hospitality? I would, absolutely not. The only hospitality I'm in now is coaching. That's it. It's coaching people in hospitality. So, what, if all and everything was possible, what would you want? Yes, let the fear come up. Fear almost always shows up at the age of real expansion. But fear is not always a signal to stop. Sometimes fear is really simply evidence that you're moving beyond the familiar into something that's genuinely new. Fear that you feel at the age of that C-type goal. It's not the same as intuition telling you to turn back, okay? You will feel it and lean into it. It's often that feeling that your old identity is really beginning to loosen its grip. And we take it as a signal that we have to stop. And you get to choose what you do with that. You also do not need to know every single step before you begin. This is one of the great, oh my goodness, this is one of the great myths of goal setting. That clarity is a path that you must come before commitment. You only need the next step. That's all. You only need the next aligned step. Today, right, what can I do today? What step can I do today? Where can I take the next step into what? That's it. The true next step, not a step sideways, not a step backways, but a step forward. And the how begins to reveal itself through movement. Think of driving on a foggy night. You can only see a certain distance in front of you. But what happens when you go that distance? The next step shows up. You see the next part, and then you see the next part, and then you see the next part. That's through action. That's through trust. That's through you deciding and moving and allowing life to meet you in that. This is where the feminine and the masculine really beautifully come together. The feminine receives the vision, holds it, feels it, trusts it, and the masculine moves towards it consistently with direction and with commitment, and together they build momentum. They build that momentum of your life. So today I want you to make a decision, a real decision, okay? Not a temporary emotional surge that, okay, motivated and then it fades when the masterclass ends. But this is when real life resumes, a grounded decision, a committed decision, one that your whole life stands behind, a decision that says, my life is changing because I am changing. Maybe today this decision is, I'm finally going to build that business and I've been thinking about for about 3 years. I'm finally going to choose myself in this relationship. I'm finally going to stop making myself smaller so that other people feel comfortable. I'm going to trust my voice enough to use my voice today. Maybe the decision might be just to lead yourself or to heal a pattern that's been underlying. So it could be whatever it is that you decide. Okay? Decide. Because indecision is not neutral. Indecision is a drain of your energy. It's a drain on your focus. It's a drain on your sense of self. Every day that you stay in the place of maybe one day, okay, it costs something now and today. Because decision creates movement. Movement creates momentum. So we're shifting, we're moving, we're going forward. So the person who knows that this work resonates because something real is being called forward. Something real is being called forward for you to do, for you to take the steps, for you to take the action. So whatever that decision is for you, make the decision because your future is not built by waiting. It's built by deciding. And I want you to leave you with this today. There is another version of you that's ready, existing in a field of possibility. They're calm, where they have maybe been anxious before. They're clear, where maybe you've been confused. They're so powerful in ways that feel so effortless because they are fully aligned. They're abundant, not financially, but in all of it. In health, wealth, happiness, joy, finances, whatever it is for you. And that version of you is available to you now. That's the identity shift. Your work is to return to who you already were underneath everything that you have been told before. That's told you to be less than, that's told you to be quiet, that's told you to be step back, that's told you, that you've maybe lost your voice. So if that version of you is there, step out and meet them halfway. That is what this entire journey has been pointing towards, as your identity shift. So thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for showing up. And thank you for choosing this. Thank you for choosing you. And I am so looking forward to talking to each and every one of you in your one-to-one. I'm going to drop a link into your replay. Come along. And if it's 45 minutes one-to-one with myself, and it means then that you can look at your goals, you could look at your standards, you can look at your identity, and then where you want to be. Okay? So have the most beautiful rest of your day. Take care and lots of love.